That's what I like to see. Pockets getting hit hard, bro. Hard. Because somebody need to hold these players accountable for the stupidity they have been.
Goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was not it. What the hell do y'all think?
It states here, Rebook is reportedly dropping their endorsement for DJonai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Let's go.
DJ Carrington might be
I don't know, but here it says, perfect. Good job, Rebook, for having a morals clause in her contract and enforcing it by pulling it. Carrington is a bully that the league apparently is protecting. Wake up, WNBA, before someone really gets hurt. You'll get sued because we Americans won't stand for this abuse. Do you agree?
the same player that Carrington has spent the entire last week fouling like she personally owes him money every time they cross paths on the floor. If this is actually true, it's one of the wildest full-circle turnarounds you'll see anywhere in the sports marketing world this entire year. Because just a few months back, nobody would have guessed these two names were ever going to end up tangled together in the same shoe deal conversation,
WNBA
let alone
player
standing on opposite sides of a
Carrington
controversy that's now
the Chicago
actively
Sky was
threatening one of their
ejected
endorsement
after a
careers in
flagrant
real
2 foul
financial
on
terms.
Sophie Cunningham in last night's WNBA game. As you saw from the video, Sophie was going for a fast break layup when DJonai decided it would be a good idea to go after her head instead of the ball. So that obviously prompted the flagrant 2. The referees take a look at it and she was ejected, and a lot of people are calling for her suspension.
Here's how we got here. Rebook signed Carrington a while back with the hope that she'd end up being
the legitimate hatred for somebody because of what they believe in and because of what they look like and because of how popular they are, I could say it's a targeted attack. Yeah, I'll call
That's a pattern at that point. And patterns are exactly the kind of thing a brand's marketing team pays very close attention to when they're quietly deciding who gets to keep wearing that logo on national television next season.
DJonai decided to post from the locker room on Threads saying white privilege. Cunningham herself admitted that she's been ejected for the exact same thing before and deserved it. But yet that card got played in seconds before the ejection even cooled off. Now, a sitting state attorney general just told an entire professional league that he will treat their hardest fouls as criminal assault. Florida doesn't even have a WNBA team. This is literally a warning, not a jurisdiction, people. You fucking clotheslined her. And I would be saying this about anybody, regardless of what the fuck they look like. Literally, right when the WNBA was really starting to become exciting.
And then came the interview that turned a regular
This is not good for DJonai Carrington at all. And then you have this going on as well. Thousands demand Reebok drop DJonai Carrington after brutal attack on Sophie Cunningham. Hold her accountable. I firmly support Reebok dropping DJonai Carrington's endorsement. Okay, so a lot of people are, getting behind this thing, and DJonai Carrington is on the brink of potentially losing millions of dollars with sponsorship. Here it says breaking thousands of people are calling Reebok to drop. This thing is everywhere, man. This thing is everywhere. So
One tweet that picked up serious traction online read, Reebok still has DJ Carrington on an endorsement deal after she cheap shot Sophie Cunningham and screams white privilege. That's heavily loaded comment, not after a single bad moment that people could easily forgive and forget within a day or two. Once a clear pattern is already out there floating around in slow motion clips being shared everywhere across every single major platform, one polite apology doesn't really undo 3 totally separate incidents stacked on top of each other inside the exact same week.
You suggested we should think critically about a statement white privilege when you at the Indiana Fever, you didn't give us much to think critically about. We, the interpreter, now have to try to figure out what exactly were you talking about? Well, common sense would deduce that you were talking about fouling a white individual and getting ejected for fouling that white individual. Now, as I said on social media and I will say in real life, if that is not what you were talking about implying, then that's on me. I will stand down and I will stand corrected. But the last thing I must again reiterate, so many people have asked you amongst others, well then what are you talking about? We still have yet to get a response. All that DJonai, you have told us is, hey, I wasn't talking about the foul. Well then, what were you talking about? I refuse to believe on behalf of everybody that is confused, we're not all idiots and you are the one genius in the room. That's just not the case. So I say this with all respect. I respect your intelligence. I respect your response. And you currently on the court hooping, so respect to you. But there's still a lot of errors in your thought process.
So that's really the core of the actual problem here, from a purely business standpoint, completely separate from anything about who is right or wrong on the official press release that keeping their current athlete rostered the way things stand right now is actively doing more damage to the bottom line than losing some exclusivity ever could. When a major company starts bending its own standard rules like that just to win back a little customer trust, that generally means the internal numbers across the board are a lot worse than anything they're willing to publicly admit to reporters or shareholders right now. And for Carrington, the timing really could not be any worse, because she wasn't just risking one tiny deal here. Endorsement contracts almost always carry language built into them for exactly this kind of public situation. Clauses about on-court conduct, about overall public image, about anything that could embarrass the brand attached to an athlete's name in any kind of public way. 3 rash fouls, and 1 heated on-camera comment about a fellow player, all stacked inside of one single week, is precisely the exact kind of stretch those contractual clauses were originally written for in the first place. And it's not just Reebok watching all of this unfold behind the scenes either. Other major brands pay very close attention to stories like this too, because nobody wants to be the next company stuck explaining to angry customers why their endorsed athlete is still cashing checks after a public week like this one. And that kind of long-tail ripple effect can quietly end up costing an athlete more than just one single contract.
The NBA is the gift that keeps on giving. The latest is a clothesline foul on Sophie Cunningham by DJonai Carrington, the woman that went on an incredibly racist rant against cab driver and, of course, knocked the hell out of Caitlin Clark from behind her rookie year. But that's okay. I'm not mad at that kind of basketball. That's all good. But the problem is after. It was white privilege. I just want you to think logically and please comment on this. White girl goes to the basket. African-American woman knocks her on her ass, clothesliner, knocks her down, upgraded to a flagrant 2. Black girl kicked out, and it's all because of white privilege. Let me know what you think. I think it's typical WNBA stupidity, and I love it.
And what makes it sting even more for her is that none of this actually had to go down the way it did. Look, fouls happen in basketball literally turn one bad decision into a full week-long news cycle that any major brand simply cannot afford to publicly attach itself to anymore. You know what I mean.
Well, I think that there's so much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think our team in specific, we are breaking history right now with the amount of points that we're scoring on back-to-back games. I think the Minnesota game, there's just so much distraction. I think the WNBA media, all we ever do is cover everything except basketball. And it's like, what are we doing? There's so much, you can talk about other things. I think those are great stories. I think it shows fans, who people are outside of the court. But I also think we got to keep the main thing the main thing. And I think when it comes to the Minnesota game, I think there is so much distraction. But the matchup between Miles and Kelsey was phenomenal. Our team, that game in particular was a great game. And so I think that there's a lot to be said, and I'm going to let people just do the speaking for themselves. But for me, I want to get back to basketball.
Meanwhile, Cunningham just keeps going out there and doing what she's been doing all season long. Playing through pressure, absorbing contact without complaint, letting her actual game do most of the heavy talking, while everyone else around her seems to be arguing about absolutely everything except the basketball itself. Whether or not this entire Reebok situation actually plays out the exact way the public rumors suggest, the optics right now genuinely favor her side of the story pretty clearly.